If you remember, when I first started reporting after my TYT days, my first time in the field, my business partner Jen and I, we went to Virginia to cover the Mountain Valley Pipeline. I was getting messages from viewers and Virginians saying that there's residents literally climbing up in trees and sitting in those trees, like making makeshift boards where they could literally protest in atop their trees to stop those trees from getting cut down, which the pipeline company needed those trees to be cut down to make room for the pipeline. So Jen and I went down there and we interviewed residents. We interviewed Red and Minor Terry, a mother and daughter who literally protested atop trees for over a month on their property. If you're not from Virginia or West Virginia, if you don't know anything about this pipeline is going through the Appalachian Trail, which is through Virginia, West Virginia. It's some of the most beautiful forest we have in this country. It's also some of the steepest slopes we have in the United States. So when you're putting a natural gas pipeline underground, the Appalachian Trail. By the way, a natural gas pipeline, it's not natural. I've already reported on this. Methane is way worse than carbon dioxide. And that's not saying carbon dioxide is good, but methane's bad. You're basically burying a ticking time bomb under these residents' homes. And if that pipeline were to explode, and I just reported I think last week, pipeline exploded in Beaver County, Pennsylvania, it's going to destroy and wipe out everything within a 2.5-mile radius. Well, a Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals judge has just vacated the Clean Water Nationwide Permit, called Nationwide Permit 12. This is the main permit that all these pipeline companies and all these fossil fuel companies need. They needed it to get the Dakota Access Pipeline through. They need it for the Rover Pipeline, the Trans-Pecos Pipeline, Mountain Valley Pipeline. It is the main permit that the Army Corps of Engineers approves. A judge has vacated that nationwide permit that the Army Corps granted Mountain Valley Pipeline. Essentially, for now, halting all construction on the pipeline. Because that big permit, that supersedes any other permits under it. So let me read to you the court decision. It's not long, and definitely share this video. Let's get it out. The court document is pretty short. So this is the United States Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit. The case was the Sierra Club, West Virginia Rivers Coalition, Indian Creek Watershed Association, Appalachian Voices, Chesapeake Climate Action Network, first the United States Army Corps of Engineers, and some other folks. So, the judge, petitioners asked this court to set aside respondents' U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the Corps, December 22nd, 2017 verification, and July 3rd, 2018 reinstated verification that construction of the Mountain Valley Pipeline can proceed under the terms and conditions of Clean Water Act Nationwide Permit 12, NWP 12, rather than an individual permit. Among other arguments, petitioners assert that in issuing its verification, the Army Corps improperly imposed one condition, you don't say, requiring use of a dry cut method for constructing 4 river crossings in lieu of a special condition imposed by the state of West Virginia. That individual stream crossings must be completed in a continuous, progressive manner within 72 hours. JA 43, as part of its certification of NWP 12, construction of each of the 4 river crossings using the dry cut method is expected to take 4 to 6 weeks to complete. Exercising jurisdiction pursuant to 15 USC 717 D1, no clue what that means, we conclude, for reasons to be more fully explained in a forthcoming opinion, that the Army Corps lacked authority to substitute the dry cut requirement in lieu of West Virginia's 72-hour temporal restriction. Accordingly, we vacate in its entirety the Army Corps' verification of the pipeline's compliance with the Nationwide Water Permit 12. Explaining that if any part of a project requires an individual permit, then the NWP does not apply and all portions of the project must be evaluated as part of the individual permit process. We deserve judgment on the parties' remaining arguments until our forthcoming opinion. So, in English, what that means is vacated, meaning construction needs to stop until the Army Corps either resubmit or redoes its permitting process, which could take a while, actually. I'll read this from Appalachian Mountain Advocates. Today, the Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit issued an order that will significantly impede construction of the Mountain Valley Pipeline, halting MVP construction through rivers and streams in southern West Virginia for the foreseeable future. Appalachian Mountain Advocates, attorneys, and our partners appeared before the court last week to challenge the Army Corps of Engineers certification for the pipeline under a general permit, Clean Water Act Nationwide Permit 12. The court agreed with our argument that the Army Corps improperly certified the MVP under the general permit. We expect the Army Corps now be required to issue an individual permit for the project requiring a significant environmental assessment before it may proceed to construction. The court's order can be found here. So, essentially, I mean, the Army Corps, which essentially is not really making any decisions on its own, it's working under this president and this Republican Party. The Army Corps of Engineers has been blowing off actual thorough permitting processes basically since the advent of pipelines. They do these stupid, stingy, not adequate environmental assessments that, by the way, the oil company, the fossil fuel companies themselves author these environmental impact statements. And guess what? Oh, environmental assessments. Guess what? They never find that water or wildlife or anything or people are in danger from the pipelines that they're assessing. Well, if the pipeline company hires these assessors, no wonder they never find a problem. Just like with Keystone. They've now said, oh, Keystone, there's no waterways that are at risk for the Keystone XL pipeline construction, which begins end of this year, early next year. So, at the end of the day, the Army Corps has been blowing off the actual process that they need to follow on all these pipelines because they're bought off. The government's bought off by fossil fuel companies. The government's bought off by all of the big oil industry. So it's a major victory, and I'm going to play you two clips so you have a little more of an idea about the Mountain Valley Pipeline and its grave threat to the residents in Virginia and West Virginia. This is from my reporting up in Virginia in April.
The whole Appalachian Trail, you're talking, I mean, it's not even known how many waterways. I mean, it's estimated, but you have waterways, farmland, animal life, artifacts, all that. Can you kind of talk about all the things that are at risk, not just on your land, but, you know, from here to West Virginia?
It will definitely affect the water. So the tree cutting the trees are the first barrier for soil erosion and for cleaning the water. So you remove those, you've already started a process you can't undo. And then when they start blasting to put this pipeline in, they want it 10 feet in the ground. And it's a 14? It's a 42-inch pipeline that they want in the ground. So blasting and digging and moving of all of that dirt is going to, you can have silt and erosion and everything like that. Even if they never cross a waterway, all of that will end up in the waters. But they are crossing waterways multiple times.
Yeah, the creek I was next to, they're crossing 23 times up here. And that is a Tier 3 waterway that leads right into Roanoke.
And it's not like these pipelines don't leak. You had in Pennsylvania a pipeline contaminated 15 wells 15 wells just last year. And the pipeline company just got fined, which is nothing for them for this, but contaminated land there. What you were talking about, the sediment that goes in the water.
And even perfect case scenario, this pipeline never leaks. Just the damage they're going to do to put it in. We're on karst topography right now. It's a bunch of limestone caves behind me. The limestone filters the water. The minute they start blasting to do that, they'll probably ruin this well, my well, a lot of the water that people use and drink up here before they even put the pipeline in, and it's got the fracked natural gas running through it. Mm-hmm. And then after that, yes, they do leak. They do explode. And the newer ones do it more frequently than the older ones. And there's a company with a horrific track record. They're the ones putting it in. And they've never put it in such steep and dangerous terrain. They've got a terrible track record. And it's the largest pipeline they've ever put in. It's going to be awful. There's no way nothing cannot go wrong.
So that's Red and Minor Terry. They were the mother and daughter who first kind of like started the tree protest. They climbed up 2 trees on their property that has been in their family for centuries, and basically were up there for, I believe, over a month, blocking the pipeline company from cutting down the trees on their property. There's another clip I want to play you that's really, really powerful and fairly short. Here we go. And, you know, the video quality is not so great because we were doing this on my phone before we had actual equipment. Here we go.
I don't remember that. I remember asking, he might not believe in global warming, but does he believe in pollution? And he's polluting our planet.
Yeah, there's a lot of adrenaline that day.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
I am, polluting the water. Since when is profit more important than water? When is profit more important than people? And I don't understand that. And I told someone, I said, the Terrys, we have right much property up here. And we've been the land stewards for this property, and we've tried to keep it under, not developed, mainly wildlife. Our bear population has quadrupled. Our deer, our raccoons, our skunks, our fox. I mean, we have the huge owls. You can hear them at night. The whippoorwills down there, which are endangered. They're down there nesting on the ground. And they've just dropped trees where they're going to bulldoze all that shit. Why is profit more important than the planet? Why is the people in West Virginia and Pennsylvania that have been complaining to their governors and to anyone that'll listen that they can't drink their water? They can no longer drink their water. The gas company has to bring water in for them to drink. And to do that, they have to sign gag orders so they can have drinking water. And it's the play-by-play book for the gas companies and the oil companies. You work the people, you wear them down because they've got the money. You wear them down, you go through their resources fighting you, and then you destroy everything they own. And then they're just grateful to have you bring them clean water because you've poisoned everything around them. You've poisoned their livestock, you've poisoned their pets. You've given their kids cancer. You've got people walking around with boils all over their face. People who worked for the pipeline have radiation poisoning from dealing with the wastewater. You're dumping the wastewater on the roads to melt snow. The scientists have said, the half-life of some of these chemicals they're dumping out is 1,000 years. So why are our fucking politicians letting this happen? Why are they able to poison people because someone's contributing to their campaign so they can be the big guy in the White House? Fuck them all. They're supposed to care about the people. They're not supposed to be destroying the people. And this damn plant they're putting over in the poor black neighborhood where they're going to put the
compression station.
The compression station. Who the hell's going to fight that? They're already poor. but they're going to walk over the poor. And I have a relative who lives right up the road from me. He planned on making that his retirement home, and they were going to run the pipeline through his land. And they said, "Oh, don't you worry, we're going to give you about 30 grand. And he looked at him and said, "I pay that quarterly." And he said, "Last year alone, I made $1.6 million, and I will keep you in court till hell freezes over." And guess what? They missed his fucking land. They rearranged everything just to miss his land. Because they don't want anyone that can fight back. They're a big fucking bully, and they don't want to meet another bully. Well, they pissed off a redhead.
Now, I want to make a few points about that and share this video. Let's get it out to as many people as humanly possible. As a reminder, that was myself. Jen was with me in April. Was it April or May? I don't remember. First story back in the field this year, covering the protests of the Mountain Valley Pipeline. And that was Red and Minor Terry, mother and daughter, who went up. Their family basically built a little treehouse for them to sit in for 30 days. They sat in very cold weather and very hot weather, because it was kind of going back and forth between cold and hot up there. They did not come down to pee. They did not come down to poop. And, you know, it's not easy sitting up there for 30 days protesting this, but they did it, like she said. When is it acceptable to put profit over people? And by the way, because I went into their home after that interview, I went into the home and I spoke with Red, the mother. She literally looked like she couldn't even stand. Her energy was so zapped from 30 days up in those trees. But you know what she and Minor did right after that? After 30 days up in the trees, they barnstormed the state of Virginia for a week, doing multiple events a day while there was attention on them and while there was attention on this story. There's also other people, other folks who stood up and sat up in trees. There was a water protector. I still don't know her actual name, but they called her Nutty. They called her Nutty as a nickname. She sat up for, I believe, for over 60 days in the Jefferson Forest on the border of West Virginia and Virginia on a pole, not even a tree, a pole, when she was being denied food and water by the U.S. Forest Rangers. So, you know, CNN does their little heroes ceremony at the end of every year. Well, I guarantee you they're not going to have these women and these water protectors and these fighters as heroes. But these are our everyday silent heroes. And that's why I do what I do. That's why I go out in the field. I don't do it to spotlight myself. I do it because you're never going to get in depth. You're never going to see these people. You're never going to see what's actually going on. Can you imagine in America, there are literally residents having to go up on their own property. Oh, conservatives love to talk about property rights and don't tread on me. They have to go up on their own property and protest atop their trees that are being stolen from them via eminent domain. This is happening in America. And it's not only happening to, you know, environmentalists and progressives. Conservatives are having their land stolen too, and they're quite pissed. I always say this is the one issue where tree-loving progressives and Dick Cheney-loving conservatives can come together.